My guest tonight is an actor who has appeared in 10 pilots, starred in 5 network series, worked on several television films, has made well over 45 guest appearances on more than 25 different shows. He was a cast member on the sitcom Stark Raving Mad with Neil Patrick Harris and Tony Shalhoub from 99 to 2000, which won a People's Choice Award. The ridiculously long list of shows that this man has been on is a literal who's list of some of the most prolific shows in all of pop culture. We're talking Sex and the City, Just Shoot Me, Spin City, Felicity, Friends, The King of Queens, House, Monk, Desperate Housewives, Modern Family, Castle, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Supergirl, Bones, 911, on and on and on. And although he was the star of a hit TV series, he still claims he's the most successful anonymous guy in town. He's probably most well known for his role in Warehouse 13 as Secret Service agent Peter Lattimer, but you can currently see him on Disney Plus series Mighty Ducks Game Changer. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm pop culture welcome to my guest tonight, Eddie McClintock. That's your cue, buddy. Yeah, wait, I'm sorry. I know it was a long intro. I apologize.
Hey, man. Hey.
Thank you so much for being here, man.
I tell you, that was the I think the best introduction of all time. So hey. I need to, the check is in the mail.
That's right, man. Hey, I can be your hype man. I can do it, man. Let me know. Look at that. Already people are in the chats.
Oh.
That's right. Let's go. We'll get you loose. We were stretching before in the break, right? Gotta get limber for this. Listen, right off the bat, I have to say, I do pride myself in taking the time to, understand the history of my guest and look back into their back history and kind of where they came from, what they've done. Dude, with you, my plate was full. The bibliography of the I guess the intro doesn't even cover it all. It doesn't. You've done so much in your career. I mean, and by no means are you an old man. By no means. But incredible. So right off the bat, you're welcome. I'm going to get to a question eventually. I'm going to sputter here a bit more. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, stay awake. So right off the bat, like the first thing I always like to ask people, because this is a military veteran kind of show, I understand that in your career, you've played multiple different military characters. I understand you have a nephew who recently joined the Army. But prior to that, what was, your connection to the military? What does the military mean to you in your life?
I mean, first of all, thank you again, CQ, man. That was really nice, and I appreciate it. And I really do, man. I feel a lot better now.
All right, it's been great having you on, man. It's been good. We'll catch you on the next one.
Let's just end, on a good note. My uncle gave me my first haircut, and he did 2 tours of Vietnam. He was a snake driver, so he flew Cobras, and he flew gunships and slicks. Did 2 tours, got shot down 3 times. Lost a couple crew chiefs. He was the man, and gave me my first haircut. He brought me some stuff back from Vietnam. He brought me back a crossbow that they had made. The pilots would sit outside, and they made crossbows so they could shoot the rats. And he brought me his crossbow, and this guy was my hero. I mean, other than my father, And then in 1978, my dad took me to see Apocalypse Now. I was still a little kid. You weren't born yet. But and then I saw Colonel Kilgore, and I was like, that's my uncle, right? I mean, I was just a little kid. So, I always kind of had that. My father always taught me to respect our veterans. He didn't go to Vietnam. He played college football and injured his knee and completely tore his knee out. And so he didn't get to go to Vietnam. But my dad always had, a lot of respect for our war fighters. And so it's just something that I passed on to my kid. One of the first things I taught my son was, thank the veterans like I did you, even though, a little uncomfortable, but what the hey. And I said, get a good deep handshake, look him right in the eye. And I think it's the only thing that he's actually learned that I've tried to teach him. But I mean, it could be worse. So yeah, then when I got into college, started learning, actually learning about the Vietnam War and about how the average age was 18, 19. And there I was, 18, 19-year-old kid, couldn't tell my ass from a hole in the ground. And then what subsequently happened to them when they got back from that war. For a long time, I wanted to go into veteran services and do PTSD therapy, but then reality hit, and that reality was that I was a fuck up. So I didn't go that route. But I did, continue to study, learn. I mean, history, American military history was something that's always been, just something that I was interested in. And I wrestled in high school and then went off to college and wrestled in college. And I found that a lot of the veterans that I've met are much like my old wrestling teammates, like playing the circle game and bag tag and talking about each other's mom and, harshing on one another, which is just right up my alley. And
sure. And
it just so happens those are the guys I happen to get along with better. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
No, I mean, everything. I mean, you're speaking the veteran language, right? We're all. I mean, nobody gets into the military because they got it all figured out and they're all right in the head. I can tell you that much. So you would have fit just perfectly right in. And there's so much I kind of real quick, because we did have a side conversation before we went live, and you said something to me that I really liked, and I know we do have a very heavy military and veteran audience, and something we talk about all the time is it's uncomfortable when someone says thank you for your service. I mean, unless you're that guy that loves to live for that, but for the most people, I really do feel. Yeah, we're not here asking for veteran discount, but it's the idea of someone saying it's uncomfortable. And I told you, I can imagine it's similar to an actor who, oh my God, I loved you in this role and that role changed. And you're just constantly getting that attention for that one thing you did when you're kind of like, I did it for a paycheck. I mean, I joined the military to get paid. But you had the greatest comment. I want to give you the stage to kind of share that wisdom with the audience.
Well, I said to you that, if enough people say that to you, it got me thinking after a while. At first, I don't know if it ever really made me uncomfortable, but I came to believe that it's really, if I helped, look, being an actor it's a monument to self, right? I mean, it's all about me, is my hair good? Do I look good? Is my body, did I say good? Did you like me? Did they think so when someone comes up and says, you helped me through a really hard time, there is a symbiotic relationship for me with them, because they helped me by supporting me as an actor, and the fact that I could give back to them and help them through a character that I played, or something that I said in an interview, then it becomes a two-way thing and not just a one-way actor man life. And that's something I'm not comfortable with that. I need the transactional relationship, and so that's the way I try and look at it.
Yeah. You sound almost theater in that way, where they like the the live audience, right? You feed off of that energy. By the way, guys in the audience, because we've got 50 something people watching right now live, and then obviously this will be recorded for eons. No pressure. This will just be forever, recorded in the internet. But I was gonna say, if guys in the audience, if you have any questions, go ahead, put them in the chat, and we'll get to them before the end of the show. I promise. And I want to get everybody's questions answered, because I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of questions for you, as do I. Okay, let's back it up. I want to give the audience a better understanding of kind of where you came from, and we kind of glimpsed at it just a bit, but how you kind of got to where you are. So you were born and raised in Canton, Ohio. You had no background in acting or performing in your youth outside of being, a kid. And you were originally a wrestler, a football player. You wrestled for 12 years, 2 years in college. You were an all-county athlete. So when you were younger, I'm curious, at that time, was wrestling the career? Was like, where did you see yourself kind of in the future? What was ahead for you?
Wow. Yeah, I didn't really see much of a future for myself. I was a bit of a maniac, frankly. My sports kept me alive, kept me out of jail. My dad was an athlete. He and I both went to the same high school. We graduated together. I have this panel on my arm is my dad, his state wrestling medal. He graduated from Hoover in 1958. I graduated from Hoover in 85. We both went to state in wrestling. My dad placed fifth, and I qualified and then got my ass kicked. So yeah, I mean, I played sports, and as a young kid, I kind of started partying, drinking, smoking a lot of weed as a kid. And, I didn't, but I was an artist also. I draw and I paint and, do graphics and stuff like that. So I just thought that I would do art. So I really actually went to college to get an art degree and to continue my wrestling career.
And now, okay, perfect segue, because I know you graduated in 1991 with a degree in business communication from Wright State University. But then pretty much right after that, you moved to California to work at your uncle's insurance company. And for those keeping track at home, you worked there for 7 months before getting fired by said uncle and deciding to go to work in Hollywood. And so you landed right out the gate. You get this job as a production assistant, and I'm curious in that moment, right? Because you're a complete outsider as far as the world of acting and production and all these things. So you literally stumble backwards almost into a production assistant job. What was the reality versus what was the expectation of, like, oh, I'm working in Hollywood now. I'm a cog in the machine. What was that like?
Yeah, after my uncle fired me, which again, he had every right to do, I was, when I was getting, it took me 6 years to get my degree, by the way. Like I crammed 4 years into 6. And like I said, I was just like that guy on the wrestling team who, everybody else would be passed out on the floor, and I'd be kicking them at 4 a.m. going, "Let's go, you pussy!" I'd be the guy that everybody was like, "Did you go out with McClintock last night, man?" Whoa, and that was kind of my persona, that's what I gained a lot of my self-esteem from, and then after wrestling, I became a goth, because I was like, oh, what's the natural progression from 12 years as a wrestler? Goth, the hair and the, brooding and the sadness. So I was all about that. And then when my uncle offered me a job in insurance, all my friends were like, "You're going to do what?" And I was like, yep, I'm going to be an insurance man. Yep, that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be an insurance man, and I'm going to wear a suit and tie every day. And, because I kind of grew up as a chameleon too. I kind of grew up around a country club. And so I knew how to put on a suit and tie. I knew how to be presentable and then go in front of people and speak with a certain amount of authority, I guess. And so I was able to pass that off. And obviously I fooled my uncle for a while. And then he realized that that wasn't the job for me. Just a side note, now, after all these years, I had an opportunity. I did a movie, and at the premiere, my aunt and uncle came, and I got to get up on stage and do a mea culpa and make an amends and thank him. And now he does all our insurance. So it's all come full circle. So I got fired, and I played Frisbee and smoked weed on the beach for a year and drank. And then I made some friends, and they were in production, and I was like, oh, I want to be a PA. And so they gave me a job. And, a PA, I always like to say they're kind of I always used to say they're like the Marine Corps of the production crew, kind of the first ones in, they get the shittiest jobs, and they're the last ones to leave. And so, I was sweeping up cigarette butts. It's so non-glamorous. It's like, a cog. I'm not sure if I was even, a piston or.
You were like the grease. Yeah, you're.
I was like
a byproduct of the machine.
Very, very greasy. But I'll tell you, that day that you get your walkie-talkie and your headset.
That's power.
Chick magnet, especially if you're out on location doing a shoot, you got your come in home base, and the girls walk by and go, oh, what are you working on? Tom Cruise movie. What? No. Never Tom.
You ever try the hey, you want to be in a movie?
Yeah. It was actually Jim Cruise, his third cousin. So frankly, I was not good at that either. I mean, I tried real hard. I was like that three-legged dog, that mangy dog in the neighborhood that is like the neighborhood mascot until he, runs past you into the house and shits on the rug, So I did that for a few years, and then I was working on a Pringles commercial, and with these young kids, and my job was to pull this guy on a skateboard across the frame with we tied a rope around the front truck of the skateboard and pull him across the frame, and he would be like, dude, what are you doing, man? You should be doing what I'm doing. And then he got into his Jeep with 4 blondes and squealed away and, throwing beer cans out and, and then I got into my jalopy with no back window and at least that's how I remember it. But I met some people that were taking an acting class, and I met this girl who I was kind of hot for, and she was like, oh, I'm going to take an acting class. You want to take an acting class with me? And I'm like, yeah. So, to go back, when I was a little kid, my mom suffered from chronic depression. And so, I kind of grew up trying to make her laugh all the time. So, whenever I could make my mom laugh, kind of, made me feel better about myself, and because I knew I was maybe making her feel better for that moment. So I think that's kind of where it came from. It was kind of in there, it was inside of me. And then going into acting class, I realized that I could do it. And I got a lot of positive affirmation that I could do it from some pretty reputable people in my class. And so I decided that if I was going to give this acting thing a try, I needed to get sober. So I got sober, and I'm 20 years sober now. I got sober. I would have 25, but I I had to do a little bit more experimentation before it
Sure.
really kicked in. But yeah, I once I decided that I was going to really give acting a try, I jumped in. I mean, it's kind of my personality. If you can't tell, like there's no gray area for me. I'm either this or this. I'm a wrestler or a goth. I'm either drinking or I'm not. I'm doing drugs or I'm not. So, yeah, that's how I ended up.
That's incredible. And it's almost like you're reading from my notes, because I got some notes here. And the very next thing I was going to ask is that, you've talked very candidly about some of the battles you faced with drugs and alcohol. And I mean, it's obviously it's something that runs rampant within the military community. I mean, in all communities, really. But
Yeah.
the military community is quite guilty of it as well. A lot of too is how you made that transition, how you decided to clean it up, how you said, well, if I'm going to be serious about this, then I need to kind of, wipe all that away. I'm curious, was there a pivotal moment? Was there a light bulb moment, something that happened that made you say, like, man, I really got to pick this or that, like you were saying?
I mean, there were a few. There were a few. The first one was when I was back in college. I was getting ready to graduate, and my degree was in business communications, which is a fancy way of saying we've taken so much of your money, it's time for you to leave. Yeah, hats off to my father. He dumped all this money in for my education. So I had a senior project to present to the class, and back in those days, back in olden times, CQ, there was no Viagra. So what they would have to do is they would do an operation where they would insert a semi-rigid prosthetic into a man's penis. And I just thought I have to do my senior project on that. I mean, what else? So I did this. Like I said, I'm an artist, and so I did this giant dong, a big cross section of a big dick, and with the prosthetic in, and I labeled all the parts of the dick, and I basically got up in front of the class and did a 30-minute stand-up with my big dick. And so the class was it was a huge hit, right? But then I was in the elevator a couple days later, and my professor got in, and he was like, "Hi, Eddie." I'm like, "How you doing, Dr. Shoup?" He's like, "I'm good. I want to tell you, Eddie, that I'm going to pass you, but not by much." And he goes, "I want you to know that you don't fool me. I see you." And I was, I was like, well, I don't know what you mean by that. What? And he was like, I know who you are. And that was a strong moment. I never forgot it. And then a few years ago, I got invited to be the MC for a $100 million fundraiser that Tom Hanks was putting together for my university. And I'm up on stage. It's a black tie event. I mean, it was insane. It was insane that this guy who, when I was a kid, I would look into my future and all I saw was black. Honestly, I saw no future. When I was in college, I just was, like I said, a maniac. And so here I am hosting this $100 million fundraiser at Wright State University in Dayton, where I graduated. And they brought Dr. Shoup up on stage. And I got to give him a big hug and thank him again, because even though it took me a few years to get my shit together after that, it was always in the back of my head, and I think that was probably one of the things that helped me to get sober. It was that thing where he was like, you're not fooling anyone. You're really not fooling anyone. And the person that I was really fooling was me.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a big moment. I also had a moment where I was in acting class and I had been on like a 48-hour run or whatever. It was, the sun was coming up. I was at a 7-Eleven on Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood. There was a guy there was a really heavy guy in Daisy Dukes with no underwear, walking down the street, urinating, just walking and urinating. And I was on the phone. I was all gacked out. And I called up my scene partner because I was supposed to rehearse that day with him. And I called him up. I was like, oh, yeah, man, I'm not feeling very well. I can't make it. And he said, Eddie, I'm going to get another scene partner, man. I can't rely on you. And I was like, what? What do you mean? What? I'm sick, man. What are you talking about? And he's like, dude, just forget it. And I was like, and I like this guy. He was a good guy. And I had lost his faith in me. And that was another pivotal moment. And
made you kind of open your eyes a bit.
Yeah. I had just I found whatever small piece of self-love still existed inside me to be able to grab onto it and hang on for dear life and try and, get back to the surface,
That's awesome. Real quick, a lot of people are about your story saying you took dick pics to a whole nother level. This dude did a dick pic or a dick project for class. He would definitely fit in with the army. This guy's hilarious. So yeah, everybody's loving it. And as a guy who I've dabbled in stand-up comedy. When you tell that story, do me a favor. When the professor corners you in the elevator and he says he's gonna barely pass you, that's your cue to say like just the tip. You're gonna just by the tip, like that. Just that one's yours. You take it.
Thank you.
All you, buddy. All you. But in all seriousness, I know that's I find it incredibly endearing for you to be able to talk about that and be open and candid about it. It's, on this show, we've talked about, we're all fun loving here. We talk about comic books and movies and video games, but I strongly believe in mental health, and self-love and self-care. And it's important. We've all grown up in a society where it's like, man can't cry, man, if you're hurting, lock it up, push it down, deep down, and all these things.
Yeah.
It's not great for you. I wanted to give you a moment as we're in this deep, dark place. If there's someone out there, if there's someone who's struggling, if there's someone who doesn't know if they still have it within them to change their life around or to get clean or sober or whatever it is, I just wanted to give you a platform for a second to just reach out and maybe share some advice or just some compassion out there.
For me?
Yeah, just share if there's someone out there that could use some uplifting and positive feedback.
Yeah. Okay. I got confused for a sec because you're looking over there, and I was like, "Is he talking to me still?" Or okay, sorry. So, look, I always, whenever I go to these conventions, right? I do a lot of personal speaking. And I always start with by letting the crowd know that if it wasn't for my sobriety, I would have nothing. I would probably be in jail or dead. I put myself in situations, really bad situations. And I look back on those situations and I'm grateful that they happened. They've made me the man that I am. But without my sobriety, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be talking to you. It has given me, the whole acting thing is just such a weird beast. I come from, like you said, you're a man, you're a wrestler, you didn't never stop, you never give up, you never, and so it was very hard for me to come to grips with the fact that I was willing to surrender. And that's tough, man. And there's a lot of people that fight that to the point where they never are able to get well. So I put it out there, man. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. I'm not afraid of what people will think, and it's kept me alive, and it's given me so much. So if you're having, first of all, because I know a lot of military, it's the same with the military, man. It's the same with PTSD. Do I have PTSD? Do I not have PTSD? If I say I have PTSD, there'll be people going, why do you think you have PTSD? So it's the same mindset, and it keeps people in their sickness. It keeps people unwell. So you got to be willing to surrender and ask for help,
Yes.
And ask for help. I was talking to a buddy of mine, my buddy Chris Weekly. He's probably listening. He's a former EOD, and we had a conversation about maybe doing an acting class because frankly, I think everybody could use an acting class. It just to open you up, just to crack your chest open and open you up, and we were talking about, like how we could get veterans involved and maybe, veterans that are suffering with some PTSD to kind of work that shit out, and howl at the moon if they have to, or some kind of fucking primal scream bullshit. So I don't know. I mean, it's an idea. I've always, like I said, when I was in college, so maybe this is kind of a strange, circuitous route to me being of service to our veteran community in some way.
Fantastic, man. No, I thank you for your words. I appreciate it. I think, if there's people out there that could, you never know that one thing someone hears, like you had that moment, that guy that says that one thing that just kind of changed the way you think and changed the way you act. And hopefully, maybe if someone's out there and that needs it, that they got something from that. I'm gonna ask you one. Go ahead.
There was one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was really high, and I had run out of money, and I had a Welch's grape juice jar, one of those, with the glass little circle, like the whoo, you could do the, like a little Deliverance style. And I had it filled with pennies and nickels, and I fucking loaded that thing into my car, and I took it down to the man, and I was like, hey man, and they're like, what you want, Holmes? And I fucking picked up this big jar of pennies, and they were like, Holmes, get the fuck out of here before I kick your fucking ass, Holmes. And I was like, okay. Okie doke. And then I walked back to my apartment like a fucking loser. And, I was just like, dude, I don't want to live like a loser. I don't want to live like a loser. You know? I mean, here's the thing. I may still be living like a loser. I don't know. That's for everyone else to decide. But at least I'm here for it. You know, I'm here for all of it.
Yeah.
And I take personal responsibility for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I had a good buddy of mine who, on prescribed medication that the VA provided, kept him doped to the gills. And one of the things is once he was able to get away from that and get clean and get sober, I remember it always stuck with me. He goes, it's like my life's in HD all of a sudden. Like everything's just super clear. I'm very present. And it's a game changer. It's a life changer, literally.
Yeah, like Braxton talks about in the Glass Factory.
Mhm.
You know, he went through that. He was on so many opioids that you know, it was hard to. I mean, it's kept you alive for so long. It's like letting go of your best friend, your soulmate. You know, not
Mhm.
easy.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a ton of questions. Guys, I'm going to get to your questions. I'm going to ask one more, and then we'll get to all the audience questions out there as
Okay.
well. So, you know, we're kind of caught up to the point where you're working as a production assistant, and now you decide to get clean. You're taking the acting seriously, and you're really committing that. You're starting to land roles. And this is, and for those that don't know, like you're I think it was just before your 30s, like it was late 20s, early 30s, where you started to
Yeah.
gain traction as far as an acting career. So for those that you're out there that think it's too late for me, I pass. Hey, there's evidence there's not. But I'm just curious, and it's something that I ask a lot of people in entertainment is, at that moment when you're just starting out or when you're just starting to get traction, what was your idea of success in that moment? At that specific time in your life, what was like, oh, I'll know I'll made it. I'll know I have made it when this happens or when I have this. What was that for you?
Well, you know, I never dreamed of being famous, honestly. Like, you know, the thought of being, I don't know, the thought of being, I was always, look, I'm not going to deny I've always been an attention whore. When I was in college, my roommates, their nickname for me was Center, because my roommates would be like, man, you always have to be the center of attention. And, you know, he's my bro, you know, he's still to this day, he's one of my closest bros, you know, he told it like it was. He said no lies. Right. And, but being famous, look, I just wanted to pay my bills. You
Hmm.
know, I wanted to be able to just pay and maybe like I remember I bought the first thing I bought when I was making money. I bought a Hulk like this. I love old Marvel comic books, and I bought this like Hulk T-shirt that I still have. I mean, it's got holes and shit, but I remember thinking like, oh man, am I going crazy with my money? I bought this, you know, I'm a lunatic anyhow, but you know, like I said, I just wanted to pay my bills. And when I started doing these national commercials for Coors Light, I did two national commercials for Coors Light, and I was living in a crappy apartment, and I was still driving the jalopy with no hubcaps. The back window had been broken out because I had all my dirty clothes piled, like a pile of dirty clothes in the back. And one night at a bar, somebody broke in and stole all my fucking dirty clothes. And so I was still driving a jalopy, but the rent was paid and the jalopy had gas in the tank.
Right.
And I just felt like as long as I can just, you know, continue to get shots and continue to show up and continue to fight, you know, like I always reference back to the three most important men in my life: my football coach, my wrestling coach, and my dad, and of course my Uncle Bob. But my football coach, my wrestling coach, and my father taught me about, you know, not giving up, staying in the fight, keep going, you know. And so that's what I did. I just kept taking my swings, you know. There was a lot of disappointment and a lot of no's, but you know, when they say yes, it's lucrative, you know. It's big. It can be very, very, very life changing. Like for instance, I'll tell you real quickly. You know, as a PA, I think I was making $700 a week, and at the time, I was like, "Holy shit, man! I'm rolling." You know, I was like, and then when I started acting, before I did my first network test, before you go into the test, they make you sign your contract. So, oops, sorry, hold on. So they make you try lower because I look at it and it said $25,000 a week, and it's like, because you start doing the math, you know. God damn it. Sorry.
Hey, everybody wants a piece of you.
That's all right. It's you know, it's like doing the math, like, okay, 25,000 times 22 episodes, you know, and so it can really put the zap on your brain. But I don't know. I don't think that ever got to me. That, you know, it just because I made it to here. So
yeah,
which is, I'm not sure where that is exactly, except I get to talk to you, which is cool, and I'm happy about it.
absolutely. Hey, I appreciate you. We have tons of questions, guys. Keep questions coming in too as we're going through it. But I want to, give the people what they want. They want to know these questions. So they're not coming from me. So just so you know,
Sure.
this is not me. I'm just a mouthpiece for the people. The first question: worst person you have worked with? I mean, this is not something I would ask because I understand that you have to have professional courtesy and respect. But go ahead if you wanna toss out a name. That's so be it.
I'm sorry. I'm going to plead the fifth. David Boreanaz. What?
Nice. Okay. You know what? We're gonna talk on the side. We might have. We can talk about that. We'll okay. Moving on. I have something to add to that. Let's see what else. Oh my God, you got so many questions. What was the most? Because remember, we haven't even gotten into like your proper filmography yet either, guys. So this is jumping ahead a little bit, but they want to ask, what was the most fulfilling or favorite role that you've done? Which I'm gonna guess Warehouse 13, but that's just a guess.
I mean, it's a good guess. It would be Warehouse 13, just because of, like I said, I didn't think I had a future, and then here I am, some wrestler, jock, football player from Ohio that spent his time trying to make his mom laugh when he was a kid. Now they're giving me the lead in a show that's cost $3.2 million an episode to make. It was a huge, like for once in my life, I was able to kind of go, okay, man, you battled through this. You did the things that you needed to do. You were responsible. You showed up on time. You did your work. People relied on you, and you did it. And so it was when the show got canceled, man. It was really hard for me, because because it was such a personal thing for me. But yeah, definitely Warehouse 13, and because of the impact that it's had on so many people. Just to tell you a quick story, I was at a convention up in Colorado. This young dude comes up to me, starts talking, and he was part of a Marine sniper team, and he had almost lost both of his legs. His legs were really badly scarred, and he said he had stepped over a remotely detonated IED and spent basically almost 2 years in the hospital having surgery after surgery after surgery to save his legs. And he goes, man, you kept me alive. Like we were talking about at the beginning, like, when people say, you made an impact, I mean, this kid, and he was a kid, telling me that I kept him alive while he was, recuperating. Man, what a thing to say.
Yeah.
Like making making this whole acting thing that I wasn't even sure, like, what? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in with all these people from all over the world that have studied their whole lives. And then to have this kid say that to me. So the next day he shows up and he says, man, I want to give you something. And I was like, oh, thanks. What's up? And he hands me a Purple Heart. He hands me his Purple Heart. And I was like, brother, I cannot accept your Purple Heart. I'm sure your parents, this is, again, biggest compliment I've ever been paid in my life. Have this kid, give me his Purple Heart. But he's like, it's okay, man, because I got blown up in Iraq too, and I have two. So he had one from Afghanistan and one from Iraq. Nice. He's like, it's cool, dude. I got blown up twice. You can have, so that Purple Heart I keep up in my safe, and every year on his Alive Day, I try and reach out to him on Facebook or whatever, and just let him know that I appreciate him.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I can personally test, I'm a big frequenter of conventions myself, and I've only ever told someone that once, something similar. I unfortunately didn't have a Purple Heart. Well, I have a Purple Heart. I didn't have mine to give away, but for me, it was Back to the Future. I grew up on the movie. That's my soul food. That's my comfort food. Anytime I'm sad, that's the movie I go to. Yeah. And at a convention, I met Leah Thompson, and I told her that. I told her, when I was in the hospital recovering from my injuries, like that's the only thing I cared to watch. And she just started crying, and I'm like, oh no, I made her cry. I'm sorry. But that means something. I can understand. I can sympathize with the guy. It does, whatever it is for that person. I know guys that loved, Family Guy, reruns of Family Guy, whatever it is.
Whatever it is, man.
It means something to that person.
Yeah. Leah's good people. Her husband directed a few of the episodes of Warehouse 13, so I got to know her and hang out. She was like, dude, I was crushing so hard back in the day on her, right?
Right? Weren't we all? Like, my God.
And it's so weird because all these people that I had, like Heather Locklear. Mm-hmm. I mean, dude, really? I'm back in Ohio, freaking whatever,
Yeah, well, I got you. Really? Yeah.
And then next thing you know, I'm working on Spin City with her.
Right.
And it keeps happening because I'm just basically a fangirl, I'm like, and I have to control myself around these celebrities because, I met Richard Dreyfuss because I was a huge Jaws fan. Like 1975, my dad took me to see Jaws. Everybody ran out of the water. I couldn't wait to get in. I wanted to be an oceanographer. I was drawing sharks. I went to a Catholic school and I drew shark scenarios after my, you get done taking your test and then you're sitting there with your test till everybody's done. So I would draw shark scenarios where, the diver was swimming and the shark had his leg coming out of his mouth. The nuns thought I was, demented and all this crap. And so I meeting Richard Dreyfuss, I met him a few years ago at a convention down in Dallas in the green room. And I was all nervous about going over to say hi to him. And my castmate, Saul Rubinek, who was in, a million things, one of which is True Romance. Have you ever seen True Romance?
Of course. Classic.
One of my all-time favorites, Lee Donowitz, I treated you like a son and you stabbed me in the back. And I used to do impersonations to Saul. I'm like, you treated me like a son. He's like, that's because I had Bell's palsy, right? And I'm like, But I'm a classic footer in the mouther,
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I want to meet Richard Dreyfuss. He's like, go over. Richard's great. He's great. So I go over and I'm like, hey, Mr. Dreyfuss, my name's Eddie McClintock. I'm on this Warehouse Routine show, but I want to come over and tell you how awesome you are, man. And I'm just such a big fan, but I'm not like a weird, like stalkery fan or anything like that. Want to see my tattoo? And I went right from, I'm not a weird stalkery fan, to look at this giant shark I had pressed into my skin with needles and ink. And he recoiled, and it just was like the biggest facepalm, And so anyway, it happens to me, and I try to contain myself, but sometimes I'm better than others.
I mean, it's the old man. Celebrities are just like us too, because I will share with you. You shared an embarrassing story. I'll share with you. I've gotten to interview some people, and I've gotten good at withholding my nerding out and like, oh my God, celebrity. And so, but I think too, it's sometimes when you're prepared for it versus when you're not prepared for it. I was at a convention. I happened to be walking, and I'm on my phone. I'm looking down, and I walked into a wall, and I went, oh, that's embarrassing. And as I looked up, it's not a wall. It's a pectoral. And I look further up, and it's Chris Hemsworth. I walked right into Thor, and my brain just. He's. I mean, in my imagination now, he's 22 feet tall. In that moment, I was like a 3-year-old child looking up at the face of God. Like it was just. And I mean.
Dude,
my God, his eyes are just so blue. His eyes are just so blue. Weird, I know, super weird.
No.
But no, he. Oh man, and he was so polite, so nice. Not a word. I just sound. At least you got words out, man. So kudos to you. You got words out. I had nothing.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It was. Yeah.
It's good to hear that he's cool, though, man.
Yeah, he was actually very nice, and he was apologetic for me walking into him. He's like, "You okay?" I can't do the accent. I can't.
Hey, little guy.
Yeah.
You all right?
Good day, mate. How are? I can't do the thing, but it was awesome. More questions. I'm gonna take my foot out my mouth and more questions. Okay, so this is, I think, in reference, we were talking about, being sober in Hollywood. Is there a large community of those in Hollywood who have become sober? Has that been something you've maybe bonded with others in the Hollywood circles?
Yeah. I mean, I think drugs and alcohol in Hollywood is impacted maybe even more so than the other industries.
Sure.
So, I mean, here's the thing. When I got sober, I thought my life was over. I was like, okay, no more fun. But by that point, fucking the fun had gone a long time ago, right? It's always was interesting to me. I'd be like, hey man, are we gonna party tonight? Party, because it was never a party, in the end. It was like, shadowy and ugly and no one really talking to each other and people crawling around on the carpet and looking out the window and all that shit. So, I thought the party was over for me. And I started going 7:30 in the morning in West Hollywood to this place called the Log Cabin. It's like they keep trying to tear it down, but it is affected because it sits right in the middle of $1 million real estate, and it's this old like Elks Club, log cabin. And I went in there, and at 7:30 in the morning, everybody's laughing. Everybody's, there's like, a bunch of celebrities there. There's a bunch of, musicians there, which is just secondary. But, at least you go, oh, wow, there's so-and-so. And but the best part was like going in there and having the people laughing and going and telling stories like, and then the cop shot me again. But that's not the punchline. I fell from the second story of the house got up running and then got hit by a car. Oh my God. I mean, like, you know, normal people would just go, okay, whoa, right? Everybody in there kind of gets it, you know?
Right.
And then I saw this beautiful girl with a big giant smile and these almond eyes and dark hair. And I started talking to her, and she had a pit bull named Bonham, named after John Bonham, my favorite drummer in the world. And she was kind of just a hippie chick. And I was like, I need to marry you. And so I did. And and so here we are 18 years later, actually 20, because I met her she had a year and I had just come back after a little relapse or whatever. And she chicken hawked me out of the meeting. But yeah, I married her, and she's one of the greatest things that has ever happened to me. Gave me 2 sons, and you know, she's just the best. So like I said at the beginning, all the best things in my life have come from that.
Right, from the sobriety. That's incredible. Yep. We've had you for an hour, and the questions are still rolling in. So I want to be mindful of your time. But so if you have to go, this is your time.
Let's roll.
Okay. I gave you your out.
Yep.
Okay. By the way, and there's, I can't even get to how many people that are, you know, that this is a great story. This is funny. This is inspirational. Thank you so much, Eddie, for sharing this. So I'm going to skip over all the praise, right? You're used to that. You get that all the time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Everybody loves you. Also, I do see Chris Weekly in the chats if you wanted to give him a quick hey.
Yeah, what's up, Chris?
So I'm hanging on there. So yeah, everybody's saying this is great, man. You're awesome. Let's get to some more questions. Keep them coming, guys. If you got questions, keep them coming. What is your dream role? Is there someone you've always, or is there someone you've always wanted to work with?
You know, my dream role would be I read the book We Were Soldiers Once by Hal Moore, and oh gosh, who was his co-author? Anyway, that'll bug me. And I mean, what an insane book, and it kind of, you know, that was the first time that they used Air Mobile, and so but then the movie came out, and, you know, people will drag me for this, but I hated it. I thought it was just shit, because I didn't think it did justice to the book.
Right.
They didn't talk about LZ Albany. And anyway, so that was kind of but I just read a book by John Stryker called Across the Fence, about Mac V. Sog and what they were doing in Cambodia and Laos. And I mean, I would love to be able to, like, you know, because those guys were invisible. I mean, you know, that all that stuff was, you know, once they agreed to go into Mac V. Sog, they became invisible. No dog tags, none of that shit. And so for years and years and years, they weren't recognized at all until, you know, a lot of that stuff, even though it was declassified, most of the records were lost. You know, they burned it. And so I thought it would be cool to do, you know, to do a movie that honored those guys. That would be, but I'm such a geezer now that I don't know, like, you know, I'd be like, hey, fucking tell McClintock to shut up. If you know, I'd be back there, my bones would be, you know, too rickety.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe I could play some old CO back in the.
Yeah, the general, you know, the guy that never saw a lick of combat, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, we got so many questions.
Marine.
You got to do the whole, like, your hair's not in regs, you know. When are you gonna shave? Those guys. Oh God. Okay, question for Eddie. What, if anything, do you remember most from working with George Siegel on Just Shoot Me?
Oh yeah. Rest in peace, George Siegel. Yeah. I didn't have a whole lot of dialogue with George, or I don't know if I had any. I mean, we were in the same room because I don't know if you've seen that episode or not. The last Thanksgiving. And so we were around each other. But I kind of got to know Wendy Malick a little bit better because, I played her boyfriend in that episode. But what I can say is, even when I was working with him, I knew, I was on stage with, an actor legend, and, I'm over there punching myself going, how did you pull this off, man? How did you pull this off? So yeah, it was a big thrill and an honor, but all I can say is that he didn't have me kicked off the show.
Right. Now, before we get to more questions, I get the feeling, talking with you. I mean, obviously we don't personally know each other, but I get the vibe that like, it's almost the feeling of, oh man, when they find me out, all this is going to be gone. Right. Maybe I don't, but like, as much as you do absolutely deserve where you are and what you've been through, the feeling of like, oh man, like they're gonna suss me out and it's all gonna be gone. Is that, am I reading that right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, part of that is just alcoholic mind, right? Alcoholic thinking. But part of it is, I designed the program cover for Lil Abner when I was in high school. That's as close as I got to, and my best friend and I, we showed up stoned to the play and watched and like laughed at them. We were like, fucking actors, right? And so yeah, I mean, I'm still like, when are they going to find out that I'm an interloper? I don't really belong here. You got people coming from Juilliard, from NYU, from all over the world. And that was one of the things, I used to hear that when I was working as a PA still. I was like, I'm thinking about being an actor. And I had people who loved me and who felt like they were, protecting me, who would say like, Eddie, man, do you realize how unrealistic that is? You should stay and continue. You have the start of a career here.
Right.
And I love them. I love them for at least looking out for me. I don't hold any ill will to them for trying to protect me in that way. But, he was right. I mean, who was I to think that I could have a career in acting? My manager is just like, yeah, dude, I don't know how you did it. When he took me on, someone from my acting class went to him and said, look, there's this guy in class and he really is doing good work and you should meet with him. And I met him, my manager, and I had done this demo reel on my own that was just like, I did this scene from Platoon and, the Tom Berenger, tag him and bag him and all this shit. I didn't know what I was doing. And my manager said, okay, two things. First, I don't normally take people that have no credits, especially at your age. At 26, I was probably 26 at the time. He goes, but I have a feeling about you. I like your personality. And he's like, and the second thing is, don't ever show anyone that demo reel again. And I was like, okay, all right. But then a few years ago, I found it and put it on Facebook and tagged him. And I'm like,
Damn, I was gonna say, can we get the exclusive rights? I want to put that up on the station, but all right, well,
Yeah.
we missed out on that one. Let's see. I want to make sure everybody's getting their questions answered. By the way, it is brought up in the chats that you used the perfect quintessential grunt use of no homo. That was well placed, perfectly timed. You're getting appreciation from the veteran community about the well placed one. Okay. Oh my God, so many questions. I'm getting them from multiple sources too. So bear with me, guys. I'm trying to keep up. By the way, people are saying that you made the show Warehouse 13. That you were vital to its success and why people loved it. That's just a comment, not a question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so okay, I got it from 3 different locations, but same more or less question. You're currently you literally the most recent thing you can be seen in is on Disney Plus, the Mighty Ducks, the sequel reboot, bring back, because everything gets rebooted, right? It's 80s retro. You're in the latest episode 5. You played the main character, the lead boy's father. Which, by the way, I saw phenomenal job. You played asshole to a T. I say that with all the love. Phenomenal. Coming from a broken home with you played a better dad than mine is. So great job. Will we? So the main question is: will we be seeing you come back for more episodes this year, or maybe further down the line?
Well, not this year because all the episodes were pre they were already written at the time, and but when I went there and got to know Emilio, and again, I think it's probably because I was very very aware of not freaking out too much with Emilio because I had to work with him and we got along great, man. I mean, he's his family's from Dayton, Ohio, which is where I went to school, and his uncle Conrad his father Martin Sheen, of course. Martin Sheen's brother Conrad was a wrestling coach back in Ohio, and he had a wrestling club. So a lot of the guys that were on the wrestling team with me at Wright State had wrestled for Conrad. So I got to tell Emilio about how much of an impact his uncle had made on all my brothers, that I wrestled with in college. So it was really cool. But the answer is not this season. And Emilio was saying to the exec producer, Mike Bombay needs a bro.
Yeah.
He needs a bro. And I mean, all the pieces are there. Like, so now his bro also happens to be the father and ex of the girl that he's hot for. So there's a lot of stuff that could happen, that could be written there. And they said to me, they were like, "You're part of the Mighty Ducks family now, and if the show has legs and comes back, we certainly want you to be a part of it." So I'm hanging on. Every part of my body is crossed right now for
right.
that.
Well, I mean, again, just as an observer, as a guy who watches this stuff, watching the episode, I was like, "Oh, this is leading to something," right? Because at first they seemed to be rival, but then it was like, okay, they're becoming buddies. They're doing the hot wing or the chicken wing eating competition, and like, okay, and then there was the strife with the he's kidnapping me thing. But like there seemed to be a chemistry, and I was like, okay, it seemed to me again because there's we haven't seen episode 6, 7, 8. I was like, oh, maybe they're building to some type of storyline where it's going to be this love triangle, and but that's cool to see that's maybe possible for the future. It actually leads into one of my questions. Everybody got their turn. You've done a lot of guest spots. I can remember the first time I saw your face. I loved Friends. I watched Friends a bunch. You were in the episode, the one where Rachel has the baby, right? You got hit on by Phoebe, and you got to work with Matt LeBlanc and Lisa Kudrow. When there's a role like that, when you're given, or obviously you audition, you get the part, and you do this thing. I always think like, is that something where, let's say the chemistry was there and sparks fly and everything, do they say like, hey, you're in this one scene or this one episode and that's it for sure? Or do they go like, we'll see how things go and maybe that character comes back down the line?
Well, they actually approached us. When I say us, me and my people, and said that they wanted me to come back the following season to reprise the role of Cliff and be Phoebe's love interest. And I had a deal at CBS at the time. And so we had to say, I have a deal. I was contractually obligated to do a pilot for CBS. So they moved on. And then I did the pilot. Well, before they moved on, I did the pilot, didn't go anywhere. I cried. And I called I'm like, hey, can we let's go back to Friends and see if I can still get in there. And they said, we've moved on. And then, Paul Rudd.
Yeah. I mean, I'll hold my, obviously Paul Rudd's a great actor and all, but
yeah.
I thought, again, as a guy who watched it, I thought, oh man, there's something here. There's some breadcrumbs. We're going to follow this. And, but these are the things we, as the viewers, don't get to see the behind the scenes of how these things work. So it's always great to have this and learn more about it. Let's see. Sorry, reading as I'm trying to talk. Yeah, okay. Ooh, I got a great one. I found online some quotes from you. And I just wanted to check in with, how you feel about them, where you're sitting at, and we'll start very tame and maybe see where it takes us. So the first one is, when I decided to be an actor many years ago, I just said, look, I'm not going to do this unless I can be the best, but I don't know what the best is. So, pulse check. Are we still feeling good about that?
Yeah, I mean, like why do it if you don't want to be the best? Like I want to be the best, and like which then leads to the conversation of fame, which is like my thing was never to be famous. My thing was to be the best, and then fame is a residual of success in this profession. So yeah, I mean, I always wanted to be the best, and I guess, there's a part of me that feels like, well, shit, I should be doing more than I'm doing, right. And because I'm better than where I'm at. But that's ego, and I reel it in and put it inside and go up and cry into my pillow and then rinse and repeat.
Sure. You find what vices you still have left and you go for that. All right, so we go, here's another one. I grew up wrestling and playing football, where at the end of the game you have a score and you're either the winner or the loser. There's no score in acting, but you qualify your level of success by the people that you work with and the amount of exposure that you have.
Yeah, I agree with that. Whoever said that is a genius.
Sounds like a smart guy. Smart guy. I don't know where I found that. I found it online somewhere. It's the internet. These things are there. Okay, let's do another one. Let's see how you feel about this one.
And
you're gonna want to stop there, but let's do one more. You would like to be able, you would like to have the ability to fart the entire alphabet.
I mean, doesn't everybody?
I've heard a lot of things. That one made me stop.
People brag about being able to burp the alphabet, and I'm like, dude, let's turn it up to 11 and go full flatulence.
Fantastic. And lastly, is that you have the idea to bring a full movie to life based on poop. Is that
On
on poop?
what, boobs?
No, poop.
Poop.
Shit.
Poop.
Yes. You have this idea for a literal shit movie.
Keep in mind, I was sober through all those comments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm sure that I was in one of my sarcastic, maybe possibly crank. That sounds like something I'd say after I didn't get a job that I wanted, and I was like, I'm going to make a movie about a turd, a giant turd,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because
I believe that was at a convention. You said that at a convention. So you said that in front of an audience too, a live audience. So
sure. I basically have Tourette's. I borderline Tourette's. I have no idea what I'm going to say. I don't like to pre-plan what I'm going to say. So sometimes you get conversations about poop.
yeah, and we already got the peanut gallery. I'd watch that shit. So there you go.
That's when I said it.
And then fart the alphabet. Are you sure you're not a grunt? So there you go. You're loving it. So obviously I see you got the tattoos. That's the what you got there? Is the bomb? Oh, is that an A10 Warthog?
Yeah.
What I have to know is there? I'm assuming there's a story behind getting a Warthog.
Yeah. Well, okay. Here's the story. I saw Predator, and Jesse Ventura had that Vulcan, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I was like, "That's badass, right?" I mean, dude,
Agreed.
I just watched Predator again 3 times last week, right? I mean, it was on HBO or whatever, and I'm like, "Oh well, Predator." My wife's like, "No." And then I found out about the GAU 8 and about how they built the A10 around the GAU 8, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool, man." And I have a dummy 30 millimeter shell upstairs, and then I found out about depleted uranium, and
Yep.
and I was like, "Whoa!" And then I found out about how much the legs love the A10 and how much they depend on the A10. So it became a metaphor for loyalty and protection of my brothers and my family. And part of it was I was sitting in like the 7th month of COVID lockdown, and I was like, "Babe, I'm gonna go get an A10 tattooed to my arm." She's like, "Okay, get out of that, get out." I had to do an illegal sneak over to a tattoo shop to
Sure.
because no one's allowed to walk around and shit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No,
Ironically, the tattoo guy who I liked a lot. I posted after the attempted assassination of 2 LAPD out here in LA. I posted a thin blue line flag to my one of my social media accounts, and he called me a fascist and a Nazi and unfriended me and hasn't spoken to me since.
God bless the internet. Man.
Did I almost start talking about politics?
Yeah, you're in the wrong. Okay, we're gonna end with that. We're gonna wrap. No, yeah, I was gonna say the Warthog infantryman. We always say it was the infantryman's best friend. I mean, like that's
11 Bravo.
I was, yes, sir. 11 Bravo Airborne Infantry. That's what I did. Long.
Got your tab and all the yummy stuff.
We're not. That's old. I'm old.
Come on, don't wave it off.
I'm way past that.
Drink it in.
This is about you, sir. No. This is about you. Man, so okay. As a tattoo guy, I mean, I got the tats as well. Are you always thinking about the next one? Because I know that's my biggest thing where I'm like, all right, what's the next one?
Yeah, I've always been like I like metaphors, right?
Sure.
Like for me, Godzilla is a metaphor. Like I hate the new Godzilla. I like the original Godzilla. Godzilla should never have been a good guy. He was always meant to be a bad guy. And I always saw him as, because originally the original Godzilla in 1956, he was a metaphor for the nuclear bombs that were dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, right? Mm-hmm. And I just the power of Godzilla. So I want to get like an American traditional Godzilla somewhere. I don't know where. I have one other one over here. It's Don Martin's Captain Klutz. So this side is kind of the yin, and then this side is the yang, or yang. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah.
When I was growing up, my favorite artist I loved Mad Magazine. I still have them all. Still have all my comic books upstairs. Whoa, excuse me. And so I always loved Captain Klutz. And again, it was one of those moments where I was like, I'm going to get a tattoo. And my wife was like, go, get out, get away from me. So, it usually happens after I've got like a bunch of vitriol built up and I'm just like, I'm going to go nuts. So punch holes in my skin.
Hey, you're speaking my language. I get you 100%. I mean, I have, the scars that go up and down my arms and I've had them tattooed over, and obviously I'm a comic book nerd a bit myself. I got the Spider-Man? Yeah, I got the Spider-Man.
Venom?
Yeah, it's the duality. We were talking about the duality. So I put the Venom logo kind of on the Spider-Man background, so that way it's always that push and that pull, the good and the evil.
The young Carl Jung, right?
Yeah, I do all right I do all right. It's perfect actually segue too, because in speaking about comic books, I know you were a fan. I know you collected and for a bit. I saw a quote that you said, somebody asked you if you could play a superhero. You said, well, Hulk, but that's kind of taken. Your second was Deathlock.
Is it?
I mean, I think he's doing a pretty good job.
I'm kind of a big deal. So Hulk probably. Maybe I can play the Blue Hulk.
The blue? Okay, all right. We're going multicolored, right? Because a lot of people saying She-Hulk coming. There's things and. I'm not saying you could play She-Hulk. I think they've already cast that one.
You haven't seen my pecs.
I mean, if you worked out a little bit, I think you could pull it off,
When I got to LA, man, I was kind of in that moment where I was like, okay, I want to dirty myself up, but I don't know what I want. I didn't know what I wanted to get tattooed. And I was hanging out with this girl. She was like the #1 stripper at Rick's Cabaret down in Houston, Texas. This girl was just smoke show. and she was like, get your nipple pierced. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. So I was like, all right. I got my nipple pierced. And I was living in West Hollywood at the time, and I was getting a lot of attention that I hadn't expected. And so, that didn't, it actually, I was at a commercial for Procter and Gamble for Pringles. I think it was Pringles. And, but I knew it was Procter and Gamble, and I was supposed to be playing volleyball with my shirt off and stuff. And so I took my shirt off and they were like, no. No.
And they're like, yeah, put it back on.
I walked out and just said, king.
I in all my research, I did not think we were going to be talking about your nipples or your piercings. So, God bless you, sir. God bless you.
Next.
In more comic, you played a character on Supergirl. You played Colonel James Harper. Not sure how much you knew before or after, but in the comic books, that's a guy who carried the Guardian. He was the Guardian.
Right.
When you get cast like that, again, this goes back to the question, do they say, hey, backdoor, maybe that's something that we can play on, or was this just kind of a wink at the comics?
I mean, I certainly was going, hey, did you know that, this guy, because I'm looking for I needed a job,
Right.
And so, I certainly was aware of it. And they obviously didn't respond to my pleads of bring me back.
So yeah, so it was one of those things where from the get go they're like, look, it's just a one thing, it's just a name in common.
They never even discussed that. I mean, they never even said no, this is just a one off. But I knew our director who had directed some Warehouse 13 and one of the EPs, one of the exec producers who I did write him and say, so do you think that?
Right.
And everybody plays it really close to the vest here. They can't say anything, it's all. So he couldn't really say. He was like, oh, I don't know. And, so I just let it go.
Right. So one of the questions I got is about a role in the MCU. Now, I know you played a character technically within the MCU. I mean, it's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which now people are like, is it canon? Is it not canon? I mean, who knows anymore? But you played the Kree, was it Vintak, I believe it is.
Yeah. Yes.
And which was honestly, it was a great episode because you had Sif coming in from the Thor universe, and you had the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. crew, and so I'm sure that must have been a wild time to play in. But any thoughts, like, man, if I can get into some of this MCU action, like the big movie stuff, the Disney Plus stuff, dream casting. I mean, what could you really see yourself, digging your teeth into, right? We know Moon Knight's coming, and the She-Hulk characters, and Miss Marvel, and I mean, there's so much out there.
I mean, I always loved Deathlock. I know that's taken, but I always liked Deathlock. I mean, that guy, like back, Silver Age Marvel.
Sure.
The way they drew Deathlock with the one. I mean, I was like all about it. So I always was a fan of Deathlock. I was always a fan of Man Thing. Not Swamp Thing, of course, because that's DC. But Man Thing, I always was a big fan of, and Werewolf by Night. So I would love to play. I love all the Universal Werewolf.
Yeah, the Monsterverse.
Yeah, I love all that stuff. So I actually feel like I would be more comfortable playing in the Monsterverse than in the Heroverse. I don't know, just flying around with a cape and shit. It's like I'm Irish, and it's usually cold on the set, so
Gotcha. A bit of fan casting. Someone's Heath in the chat said you could be Jack of Hearts. I mean, that's a bit of fan casting for you there. I think that's a DC character, though.
I don't know Jack of Hearts.
Yeah, I think that's DC. I think that they were with the Royal Flush Gang. DC villain / sometimes hero. What else? Oh my God, it's so many questions. Thoughts about the Oscars? Do you have thoughts about the Oscars? That's it. That's
when are they?
I think they just passed. I think they were the other night.
Then no.
I like it. I'm with you. I believe, actually, I think they said it was like the lowest viewed Oscar of all time, under 10 million views, or however they rate that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have, a phenomenal reputation in regards to kind of how you connect with your fans at conventions. I mean, I saw it a million times. How many people appreciate the way you interact, putting your chair in front of the desk, giving out hugs, and really connecting with people. What is it about the convention experience that you really love?
Well, being able to give back to the fans, being able to thank them for, supporting me. And I, I need it. It's lonely out here. I'm kind of on an island in LA. I don't have necessarily like a bunch of actor friends that we all hang out and stuff, so it helps my ego, frankly. It never hurts to show up and have bunches of people coming up and telling you how much, they love you and how you've affected them. And in turn, I get to say thank you, the way conventions are set up, they put the table and then the celebrity sits behind the table. And I always felt like, and my manager used to say to me, he was like, no, Eddie, you don't tell them too much about yourself because they want you to be up here. They don't want you to be on
Right.
even with them. And I just was like, that doesn't make me feel comfortable. Like, I don't want it to be like that. And then I had this young girl who she came up and she was telling me, one of those stories about how, the show and Pete had affected her and the scene where we find out that Jinx is gay and then Pete is like, dude, he takes off his shirt and he's like, here, drink it in, brother. And, he's all like, oh my God, put your shirt on. What are you doing? But Pete, like our exec producer, is gay. And he said, I want Pete to be the coolest straight guy I've never met.
Right.
And just no judgment at all. Right. And so, God, what a great character to be able to give to the universe. Right. Because of, this whole talk about toxic masculinity and all that stuff. And, just for people to know that there really are guys out there that don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the people, I don't think I know anyone who has a problem with someone being gay or whatever,
Right.
Just whatever. So anyway, this girl came up and then she started telling me that she had realized that she was gay and she was afraid to tell her parents because she thought that they would, disown her, and she was crying. And I got up and walked around the table and I just gave her a big hug and talked to her for a while. And I just said, you got to live your life. You got to be you. You can't live a lie. And I just said, maybe try them, try your parents out. And anyway, she ended up writing me and she said, I told my parents and everything is great and thank you so much and I love you and I still talk to her, and I decided then, I was like, I'm just going to stand out in front of the table and everybody who comes up to my line, that stands in my line, is going to get a hug from me, whether they want it or not. Even I get people that are standing there like, I don't know who you are. I'm here because my friend made me come up. And I'm like, doesn't matter. You're going to get a hug because I'd rather hug everybody and then get the few people that are, don't know me or uncomfortable about it, than miss the person that really needed it. And not have done that.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm sure there's that guy that's like, oh, this is the worst. And then later on is like, that was the greatest day of my life.
Yeah.
Like I just really needed a hug.
I was just down in Huntsville where, with the COVID and everything. And I'm just like, get ready. Cause I'm hugging, I hugged and talked to, several hundred people down there. And here I am.
Yeah, and again, so many people mentioning it. I'm gonna ask. I'll give you a couple more questions, and then really we'll let you go because I know we've given so much to us tonight. We really appreciate it. This is from Logan in the chat. From a soldier, I want to buy you a meal sometime to sit and chat. You affected my life and the life of my family in a positive way. What are some of your funniest moments in shows you've been on? Also, now my wife and I need hugs. So where are you going next?
Logan, it's from Logan.
Logan.
Hey, Logan, man, thank you, brother. Anytime you want to buy me lunch, I'm in. Thank you. I'm going to be in Fayetteville, Louisiana, in August.
In August. There you go.
Yeah.
Buy your tickets now, Logan.
Yeah, I think it's called Geeked, GEEK apostrophe G, Geeked Con. So that's in August. So I'll be down there. And then, of course, Dragon Con, which is in Atlanta in September. Have you ever gone to Dragon Con?
Dragon Con is one of the few I haven't been to, but is on my list to do.
Oh, man.
I've heard amazing things.
I mean, look, I don't know if it's the best, but I consider it kind of my home con. That was like one of the very first cons. It just blew me away. Like I had no idea about any of it. I knew about Trekkies, like I'd seen the movie Trekkies, and I knew there were Star Trek conventions, but I had no idea how rabid the sci-fi fans are, and not only that, but how incredibly loyal they are to, if they're a fan, they're in for the long haul.
I've always heard that, like, your San Diego Con, your New York Con, that's for the media, that's for the sell, that's for the spectacle. Yeah. But like Dragon Con is for the people. It's for those connections. The only people that are there are the people that want to be there. Versus that I'm selling a product and I'm marketing my next big thing. So
they fly them in, and then but it's for the people that really want to be there for sure. And it's like 86,000 people.
Yeah,
it's insane. It's insane.
By the way, I think we got Mrs. Logan also in the chat because he says, "I'm the wife. I want a hug," and that's. There you go. You got virtual hugs for everyone, and they're near Augusta, so Atlanta. I guess they'll see you there.
They're cool.
What else? A couple more, and actually a question. I'm curious. Me and my co-host Radar have had this kind of back and forth conversation this year about how obviously COVID has been terrible, right? We're on a human level, it's terrible. We're pushing past that. Specifically in pop culture, right? This has been horrible for us, right? We've lost. They shut down comic books. Video game producers were shut down. Movies have been shut down. TV's been shut down. I try to always look on the optimistic side, and I go, my hope in something like this is that with everyone sitting at home, with everyone having nothing to do, maybe this will usher in a new golden age of entertainment, right? Because those people that are just trying to bang out episodes of a show. Now they have time to sit and think and just imagine all these new movie ideas, right? We can stop with the reboots and the sequels. We can, original stuff. So I'm curious, as an insider, as a guy on the inside, as a cog in the machine, as it were. What are your thoughts on how COVID changes the landscape of entertainment moving forward?
Well, I don't know if I have any actual insight in regards to that, but I like the way you think. I like the idea that maybe it could usher in a new golden age, as long as it somehow included me in that equation. Because my wife likes horses and shit. I don't know. I hope that, maybe that there'll be that will be a positive thing that comes out of it. But I too, I'm kind of like, really, we're going to do like I don't know, Moesha, The Next Generation.
I
Like,
mean,
wasn't Moesha? We love Moesha, but I think we captured all the magic there.
right.
Um, yeah. So who knows, man? I think that's a tricky question, and I can only say that I would like to think of it in the same way you think of it, and hope that something really good comes out of it.
Apparently we got a couple people agreeing in the chats that you could be the perfect Johnny Bravo. I mean, I don't know of a way you could get away with a character like Johnny Bravo because of today's,
I'm not sure. I know. I'm not. Fill me in, man. I'm sorry.
Johnny Bravo it was a Cartoon Network, same time as like Dexter's Laboratory, the Powerpuff Girls. It was that era. Johnny Bravo was the epitome of man. He was muscular, blonde hair, kind of Elvis personality, right? Honka honka mama, and was just the biggest womanizer. And I mean, he was terrible at it. That was what was funny, because women, smacked him away all the time. But with today's,
I'm sure he'll get canceled.
as I say, I know you got to be careful. You got to be careful. You live in the public eye. But there you go. A lot of people are saying Johnny Bravo.
Thank you.
We'll make it happen.
I'll have to pump iron.
That's exactly, and work on your Elvis, because there's definitely like an Elvis flair to it as well.
Oh, can I tell you real quick, and then I'll let you. You're probably like going,
no.
How long is this guy go? I mean, Jesus. I'll tell you one quick. When I was in college, some of my wrestling buddies came back and they were like, "Dude, we just saw this movie and you've got to see it." And I was like, what is it? What is it? Like, it's this movie called Evil Dead 2. and I was like, oh, okay. So I went, and I mean, Bruce Campbell just freaking, what do you got to say? Right. And
a legend.
I was like, whoa, how does this guy, this was before I had thought about it, and I was like, how does this guy know how to do it? Like, what does he do? Like, what goes through his brain? Right. So, I always say that he was certainly one of the people that kind of compelled me to become an actor, inevitably. And so, he did Bubba Hotep, right? Of course, where he played Elvis, and I was at a convention. I can't remember where it was, but he had his own room. He wasn't in like with all of us plebs. He had his own.
I mean, he's Bruce Campbell. I mean, obviously.
And I was like, I'd walk when I was on my break. I'd like go by and look into his room, and I'm like, oh my God, there he is! Holy shit! And then one night after we were back at the hotel, and I was in the lobby with Dina Meyer, who was in Starship Troopers, and a gal by the name of Tara Strong, who does all these voice.
Love stuff. Tara Strong.
Million people. She's awesome. And they were like, hey, we're going to go to dinner. Do you want to come with us? A friend of ours is going to come pick us up for dinner. Right? Sure. Yeah, I'll go. And this black, okay, this is how I remember it. This black SUV, blacked out windows, super extra, like a Suburban XL, pulls up. The doors open up. This purple green fog rolls out of from the lights, and then this hand reaches out to help the girls up into the SUV, and it's Bruce Campbell. And now I'm going to dinner with Bruce Campbell. So I get in and I'm sitting there, and he's behind me. And I was, and I do think I have maybe a little bit of Tourette's or whatever it is, but I just was like, hey man, you're fucking so awesome. And that was, and I turn around, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, you're an idiot. Oh, all the, killer, no. And So we get to dinner, and he takes us to the Palm, which is one of my favorite. And he ends up buying dinner for all of us. He and I sat and talked Evil Dead for 2 hours. And then we ended up doing this picture, dueling Elvises. Me and Bruce Campbell doing dueling Elvises. And like, again, one of those moments for me that says, you've done the right thing, man. You've done. I mean, he ended up being awesome, and like all the things that I thought about him had come true.
Yeah.
And I got to spend time with an influence of mine. So.
Yeah. They tell you never meet your heroes, but in certain cases
that is true, but not always. Like I'm meeting you. And
see, I set it up for you, and you just knocked it right out of the park. Beautiful. Mwah.
Just the tip.
Yeah, just the tip. Excellent. All right. Before we let you go, is there anything you have coming up that you want people to be aware of? Tell us, where can everybody follow you? How can they keep up with you? This is your moment.
Oh, okay. No is the answer to the first thing. I'm like,
Mighty Ducks. Check out the Mighty Ducks. You're in there.
We'll for food. No, I've been doing little movies here and there. I just did a movie called Reboot Camp with Ja Rule and David Koechner and some really great actors. It's going digital May 4th on all platforms, I think. It's really kind of a fun movie. I've always been a big fan of Christopher Guest and, from Spinal Tap and Waiting for Guffman and stuff. So it was an opportunity for me to play this like really big character, like really someone really far away from who I am. So it's a fun little movie. So check that out. Yes, Mighty Ducks. And I'm on Facebook as Eddie McClintock. I'm on Twitter as Eddie McClintock, and I am on Instagram as Eddie McClintock.
Man, you got this social media thing on lock, man. I love the synergy. You got a synergy with it, guys.
It all up,
ladies and gentlemen. I mean, what's left to say? My guest tonight is the incomparable, the amazing, the my God. I come back one day. I feel like we only got the tip. I feel like we only got the tip, and I want all of it. This has been absolutely amazing, guys. We're gonna go to a quick break. Don't leave me just yet, Eddie. I'm gonna say bye to our guest in private, but you guys have been awesome. Thank you guys for hanging out and being in the chats. We gave you a double XL edition of Pop Culture Warrior. You guys are awesome. We'll be right back after a quick break.